Since long ago, my mother has always doted on my younger sister more than me, her older sister. But because she raised me, I have been working hard to support her. However, the moment it was decided that my sister would come back, my mother discarded me in an instant. "Parasite, get out," she yelled at me, showering me with abusive words. If that's how it is, then I won't tolerate it anymore either. In that case, I will settle all the resentment I've had until now. My name is Eleanor, and I'm 28 years old. After graduating from university, I worked for a decent company, and now I live alone with my mother. My father passed away a few years ago. My sister is already married and has her own family. Originally, I had a plan to live on my own, but my sister's marriage was decided first. I couldn't leave my mother alone, so I continued to live with her. Come to think of it, my mother has always doted on my sister. My sister, Ophelia, is the complete opposite of me. She is cute and has a good figure. If I were to point out the only flaw, it would be her twisted personality. What's amazing about her is that her personality covers up her weakness just by her appearance. She's good at presenting herself, so it seems like she's skillfully living her life. While I'm serious and have nothing but sincerity, my sister is the complete opposite, but it seems she was quite adorable to my mother. Even after my sister got married and moved out, my mother often complained. "Sigh, it would have been better if Ophelia, not you, were the one living with me. Why is Ophelia so cute while you have no redeeming qualities? I want to see Ophelia. I'm tired of looking at your face. Even now, I work and support the livelihood of this house. So why do I have to endure such circumstances?" "Hey, Mom, I understand that you find Ophelia cute, but you don't have to go that far with your words." Annoyed, I couldn't help but interject, and my mother lost her temper. "If you were as capable as Ophelia, then I wouldn't have to go through this every day." "Go through this every day? But our life isn't particularly difficult, is it? We've been able to live in this house even after Dad passed away." "What with that attitude? You are not thinking that you are doing me a favor, are you?" "Not to that extent. I'm reluctantly living with you, you know. If Ophelia hadn't gotten married, I would be living with her, not you." "Fine, I get it. Let's swap it." The house we currently live in was rebuilt a few years ago after my father passed away, although it's under my mother's name. It's me who's been making the remaining mortgage payments. Yet, my mother always insults me compared to my sister. Living with my mother, who always says hateful things whenever she looks at me, has been reaching its limit. But there is a reason why I haven't abandoned my mother. When my father passed away, my mother cried for days. She didn't eat properly and was completely exhausted to the point where everyone around her was worried. From now on, it's up to me, her family, to support her. I thought that I had to protect my mother for the sake of my deceased father. Being the eldest daughter, I have always had a strong sense of responsibility. Now, I often feel anger towards my mother's words and actions, but after my father death, my mother is the only parent I have. I couldn't bring myself to hate the only person who holds such a position in my heart. One day, something unexpected happened. My sister suddenly came to the house with her husband, and as soon as she saw our mother, she said something outrageous. "Mom, our life has become incredibly difficult." With tears in her eyes, my sister looked at our mother, who showed a worried expression. "Difficult life? What happened?" "My husband got laid off out of the blue, and we can't afford to pay the rent for the apartment anymore." "What? That's terrible." "So, Mom, I can only rely on you. If it's okay with you, I want to live together." "Ophelia, this is bad." I realized it in an instant, but it was already too late. Before I could even interject, our mother had already given her approval. "Yes, that's fine. Cute Ophelia is in trouble, after all." "Really, Mom?" "Of course, besides, Mom, you've always wanted to live with Ophelia, right?" "Thank you. I love you, Mom." Overjoyed by my sister's words of affection, our mother ignored my opinion completely, and the two of them decided to live together without my consent. Even I, in my disbelief, confronted my mother. "Wait a minute, Mom. I live in this house too, you know?" Mother remained expressionless and said, "So what?" "What do you mean, so what? It's troublesome for both of them to suddenly move in. I have my own workspace too." "I don't care about your opinion. The house is in my name, after all." "Well, that may be true, but..." Before I could retort, my mother let out a sigh and said, "If you have so many complaints, then leave." "Huh?" I was taken aback by my mother's sudden statement. "What are you talking about?" "Did you hear me? I told you to leave. Besides, to me, you are just a replacement for Ophelia." "That's cruel. You don't have to say it like that." "I don't need a parasite like you. If Ophelia comes back, I don't need you." Being told such things directly by my mother, darkness enveloped my surroundings. I knew my mother doted on my sister, but to this extent. To easily cast aside me, who had been taking care of my mother for so long, while my sister, who left without a second thought after getting married, received such love. It was an unjust treatment. I couldn't comprehend each and every word and action of my mother. I felt a mix of frustration and misery, tears on the verge of failing. Seeing me in such a state, my sister suddenly snorted and burst into laughter. "Well, Mom is saying the same thing. Can't you just leave already, big sister? If you are not gone, the room won't be vacant, right? You are in the way." "In a way? It was me who supported Mom all this time." "So what? Mama wants to live with me, you know? You are no longer needed, big sister. Rush, just rush." After uttering those words, my sister called my mother and husband, and together they started planning the moving schedule. "Let's have Mexican food on moving day." "Wow, Mom, that sounds great. I'm in agreement." "Then I'll take care of procuring the ingredients. Everyone got excited and ignored my existence completely. In shock, I stood there dumbfounded, and then my sister howled insults at me once again. Hey, what are you stealing a blanket? I told you to leave already, but it's so sudden. You are just in a way, you're a parasite. Can't you leave and bucket the room? I'll leave within this week. Is that okay? Desperately, mastering my voice, I finally agreed, barely managing to do so. Meanwhile, my mother had even started planning a little trip with my sister. Make sure to move out before we come back from our trip, alright? Leaving those parting words, my mother and the couple left the room together. I was just a bothersome presence to my mother. If Ophelia were here, it really wouldn't matter at all. If they are going to act like that, then I won't hold back anymore. Once it reached this point, I was determined to push them into hell. Any sympathy I had for my mother vanished, replaced by a thirst for revenge. From there, things progressed quickly. I immediately contacted the moving company and swiftly completed the move while my mother and sister were absent. The movers asked curiously, Are you moving too? Yes. We heard it's just a single person moving, but should we transport everything in the house? Yes, please take everything neatly. I responded to the movers with a bright smile on my face. My new place of residence is a company dormitory. I had heard that there were vacant units in the dormitory and had been invited multiple times, but I declined because of my mother. When it turned out that there was still availability, I immediately started the application process. I never imagined that my new life in a dormitory would begin like this, but when I actually moved in, the room was even more wonderful than I had imagined, and I immediately fell in love with it. By the time I got used to the new life in the dormitory, I received a flurry of calls from my mother and sister on my smartphone. The voicemail message said, "Make sure to visit home without fail." I had expected it, but the frequency of calls far exceeded my imagination. Thinking that if I ignored them, they might show up at my workplace, I stopped by my parents' house on my way home from work. When I opened the door, my mother and sister were waiting for me with a furious expression. "Hey, what's going on? There's nothing inside the house." Even the refrigerator and a toaster that I liked. Where did you take them? While feeling exasperated by their shouting, I calmly responded, "Where? It's my new place." "What did you say? You can't just take them without permission." "That's right. Return them immediately." "Return them? Why?" "Why, because of you." In place of our exasperated mother, my sister started yelling. "The furniture and the appliances belong to Mom, don't they?" In response to my sister's statement, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. "What's so funny?" "Oh, sorry. I thought you were making a ridiculous misunderstanding." My sister angrily asked, "What do you mean?" Upon seeing her like that, I decided to explain the truth to her. I don't know what misunderstanding you have, but all the furniture and the appliances that were here were bought by me. Since I'm moving out, it's only natural that I take my belongings with me, right? What do you mean? That's why I replaced all the furniture and appliances in this house with my own money. I just transported them to my new place. Understand? But it's strange to take everything when they were originally here. It's my own stuff, so what I do with it is my business, right? Can you stop making such a fuss? My sister glared at me with a fierce expression, breathing heavily. And by the way, the money in the bank account was reduced to zero. You know, we couldn't use Mom's card during the trip, so I had to borrow money through cash advance and make the payments. Oh, really? No, it's not like that. You took all the money that was in the bank account, didn't you? Of course, because it's my money. What's wrong with taking it all? Provoking her lightly, my sister shouted at me. Don't mess with me. She approached me audaciously, her face turning red as she yelled at me. Give the money back. There should have been that insurance money in that bank account. What are you talking about? It wasn't there. There's no way that's true. When I came to this house before, there was a lot of money in it, right? That was just me replenishing it with a portion of my income. It accumulated and became a decent amount, that's all. What do you mean? Then what about that insurance money? It's long gone. Your beloved mom spent it all, you know. As I said that, my sister quickly turned to look at our mother. Mother instinctively averted her gaze, wearing a look of regret. Mom, is what my sister said true? Well, as my sister asked, my mother could only stutter in response. Glowing impatient with her, my sister yelled at our mother. What on earth is going on? I came back because I thought that insurance money was here. Trying to calm down my angered sister, my mother muttered. Just calm down. How can I calm down? It's all Mom's fault for using that money, isn't it? What are you going to do about it? I was just happy to be able to live with Ophelia. After all, Ophelia wanted to come back and live with me, right? Haha, that's not a joke. I only came back to repay the debt. Debt? From overhearing the conversation between my mother and sister, I understood that my sister and her husband had fallen into gambling addiction and accumulated a significant amount of debt. In an attempt to repay the debt, they turned to gambling again, only to see the debt continue to grow. My brother-in-law neglected his work, leading to him being laid off under the guise of downsizing. With an overwhelming amount of debt and no way out, my sister and her husband returned to this house, hoping to get their hands on our father's insurance money. Unaware that my sister was taking advantage of her, my mother, driven by the situation and without much thought, kicked me out of the house. And this is the result of all that. Now you understand, right? There's no more of that insurance money in this house. All that's left is the mortgage. I'm leaving, so it's up to you to pay off the mortgage. Unexpectedly, my sister chased after me with tears in her eyes. Wait, sis. Both my husband and I have debts. We can't possibly pay off the mortgage. I don't know about that. You wanted to live with Mom, didn't you? No, that's not it. I never imagined it would come to this. Mom always said she wanted to live with you. Well, good for you. Happy ending, right? Wait, don't go, sis. Please, Eleanor. Stay here. Enough already. I forcefully pushed away my clinging mother and sister. I've always been here supporting Mom. I've been paying the mortgage, but all you do is favor my sister. Once the parasite sister comes back, the freeloader can leave. Is that it? This is no joke. Where's the lovely sister? Just a leech. I'll never come back to this house, not in a million years. Mom and Ophelia can enjoy living in their dirty little mess. With those final words, I left my childhood home. Until the very end, my mother and sister clung to me, but I had no reason to listen to their words anymore. It's been almost a month since then. My desperate mother and sister's spouses seem to have started part-time jobs and they labor. But even though, there's no way they can make enough money, and in the end they had to sell our family home to move to a cheap apartment where they fight every day, or so I've heard. It's because Mom said she wanted to kick you out. If she had just let you stay, we could have taken advantage of it. What are you talking about? I did it to secure a room for you too. Mom, you can't even survive without my sister's money. You are the one who said you wanted to live with Mom and took advantage of it for money in the end, weren't you? So what are you saying? Mom has no value other than money? What with this attitude? Just leave already. You leave, you old hag. Now they struggle just to secure their daily meals. They can't even afford to buy a single piece of clothing, it seems. If only the three of them could cooperate and get along. They really are hopeless people. As for me, I spent fulfilling days in the company housing at our new place. My commuting time has been reduced, so I have more time for myself. When I was kicked out of my childhood home, it was shocking, but now I actually want to say, thank you for kicking me out.